Let's get started. BuzzSumo is divided into three main sections. The first is content research, then we have amplification and monitoring. The tool is designed to help content marketers, publishers, and PR firms with those specific areas of their workflow. And in each section, there's a little bit of a different methodology that we use to gather the data and also to present it. So let me go ahead and get started with trending. The trending section of BuzzSumo is designed to help you find the content that is resonating with your audience in close to real time and identify viral posts before they reach the peak of their popularity. The dashboard initially shows you all content, and this refers to content that has come online during the past 24 hours. Each of those pieces has been scored to show you which ones are being shared most rapidly. So, for example, this piece about J.K. Simmons has a trending score of 1.2 thousand. The trending score is based on a 0 and on up scale. There's no fixed endpoint. The higher the score, the better, or the higher the score, the faster people are sharing that particular content. Now, for perspective, the highest trending score that I ever saw was for a piece about Zimbabwean lions that came online after Cecil the lion was killed. It had a trending score of 5.7 thousand. This is a little bit more typical. There will usually be a trending score of 1,000 in the top line here at some point during the day. Now, each of these listings also includes the total number of shares that the content has gotten, which you see here, and we break that up so that you can see which network is seeing the most sharing action for each piece of content. Our intention is that with those two numbers and the timestamp, you would be able to not only know content trends that are across the internet, but also be able to identify posts that are likely to go viral before they reach the peak of their popularity. Now, we do have some filters available here. For example, you can filter this to see the content that has come online in the last 2 hours that is getting shared more quickly than everything else. And you can change that up to 4, 8, 12, or 24 hours. Now, you can also toggle simply to the content that has gotten the most shares. What that does is removes the velocity element and just shows you the content that has gotten the most shares. Now, we've created some dashboards for different topics like news, sports, entertainment, everything that you see with an icon here on the left-hand side of the screen. But a great thing about trending is that you can establish your own custom feeds for topics that are of interest to you. To do that, you would just click on Add Trending Feed and choose whether you would like to set up your feed based on domains or topics that are important to you. Now, I'll show you what these look like. This is an example of a topic-based feed. This is my feed for leadership, and using it, I can keep track of content on my topic that is being shared more rapidly than other content. I'll show you what this looks like so you can get a feel for how to set these topical feeds up. If you click on Edit, we will bring you into, at least we usually will show you the other side of the feed. I'm not sure why that button's not working, but basically what I've done with that is I have entered a lot of different search terms related to leadership and 2 hashtags related to leadership. And using that information, BuzzSumo is able to pull together this trending feed for me that shows me content that's trending in my topic area. Now, the other way that you can set these up is based on domains. And I have a domain-based feed that I'd like to show you. For the domain-based feed, I have just used different Canadian regional newspapers websites. Using it, BuzzSumo is showing me content that is trending from those sites. Now, this has a trending score of 139. A lot of times the trending scores for the Canadian news sites will be a good bit lower. So I like having this feed running because it tells me that it shows me content that is trending in a particular topic area that might not always make it into the all content section of the site. Now you can share these feeds. If you would like, just click on share this feed and we'll pull up a shortened link for you. You can also post them directly into social media. If you do share the feeds, the people who have them don't have to have a subscription to BuzzSumo in order to see the content. They'll be able to see your feed as well as anything else that's free within our tool anytime they click on your feed. All right, let's switch over now to the most shared section of our site. Most shared is designed to give you insight into content that is resonating with your audience by showing you the most shared content on a topic from a domain or from a series of domains. So to get started, you would just type a topic. I'm going to do e-learning today, and BuzzSumo will bring you a list of the most shared content in your topic area. Now, there's a lot available. This is page 1 of 738 pages. We do offer some filters that can hopefully help make this a little bit more useful for you. The first is the option to filter by date. When you do a most shared search, by default, we're going to look at content that has come online during the past year. The date refers to when the content came online. You can also shorten up that time period. So if you would like to see the most shared content that has come online in the past 24 hours or the past week, you can do that. That might be useful if you're looking for content that is performing well right now. Maybe you want to find things that you could post in a social media feed. If you're looking to create new content, though, it might be more useful to look at content that has been online over the past year. That will give you a broader selection of content and help you to identify the content pieces that have really resonated with your audience over a longer period of time. Another option is to show a specific range of time. This can be helpful if maybe you work in an industry where there are some really specific time frames, or possibly if you're interested in creating content around holidays. You set the specific range filter, and BuzzSumo will show you content that came online during that period of time, and we'll show you specifically the pieces of content that got the most shares. So what I've done here is I've set up a specific range filter for the New Year holiday, and I'm looking at content on e-learning. So these results show me that top 10 lists, or lists in general, were very popular of that content: top 10 skills for modern teachers, top education systems. Here's one that I find interesting: MOOCs in 2015, breaking down the numbers. And this wasn't published until December 28th. So there's definitely something that that I could add to my idea list, and possibly for my editorial calendar for next December. I could analyze the performance of MOOCs. So that's an idea on how you can use the specific range filter to find content that performed well during a holiday or a significant period of time for your industry. Now, we also offer a language filter. So if you're working in a language other than English, you can set that filter. And we offer a top-level domain country code filter. What this does is allows you to find content that's being produced in a certain part of the world. The way we do that is based on top-level domain country codes. So if I enter UK here, BuzzSumo is going to find content that was produced in the UK by looking for UK websites that end with .uk. Now, the weakness there is that there are .coms from all over the world, and this will not find content from .coms that are based in the UK, but it can help to narrow the results by country for you. Now, the other option that's available here is this one, to filter by type of content. So if you are interested, for example, in producing an infographic, and you'd like to know if infographics are being heavily used, if they're being used at all, and if so, which ones are the most successful, we can show you that. Just so you understand how we're doing this, in the content type section, we identify infographics and infographics and videos by looking for the word infographic or video in either the title or the URL of the content. Guest posts, giveaways, and interviews, we look for those terms in the top 2 or 3 paragraphs of the content. So if you're looking for someone to create a guest post for your site, or you'd like to interview someone for your site, using the guest post or interview content type filter could be really helpful. You can look to see whose interviews and guest posts have been most successful in your topic area. Now, I'm going to recheck all of these. I just wanted to show you a couple of things that you can do here in the most shared section of the site when you're searching for a specific topic. I've entered the term insurer here, and I did that because I was having a conversation with someone the other day who was looking for content about insurance, but he specifically was looking for content that would appeal to an audience in the UK. And so I showed him how you can use our advanced search options to filter and narrow the search results in most shared. So what we've done now is filtered out Obamacare, because that's not going to be useful for him. So we do have a negative function that you can use. We're still getting some results about Obama, so I'll just add another negative filter. And then his use case specifically was about health insurance. So I'm going to go ahead and filter out that mention of auto there. So we do have a lot of advanced search options that you can find here on the drop-down menu underneath the search field. If you forget later what you can do to, just click on this and you'll see all the advanced search options that are available to you. In cases like this where you have done some filtering, you might want to go ahead and just click on Save Search. There's no limit to the number of searches that you can save, and if you click Save Search, you'll just be prompted to give this a name, like maybe UK Insurance. And then the next time you log on, all of your saved searches will be waiting for you here on the left-hand side of the dashboard. So keep that in mind. You can also export results, and you can create content alerts for further monitoring by checking Create Alert here. I think that's helpful to know as well, because this will preserve your Boolean strand, and you won't have to retype that when you go to the alert section of the site. All right, now another way that you can use the most shared section of the site is to search for the most shared content from a domain like BuzzFeed. Anytime you're searching for the most shared content from an individual domain, you can toggle away from content to backlinks, and BuzzSumo will do a real-time search for backlinks to the domain that you're interested in. So if you don't have a backlink tool in place for your site, you can use BuzzSumo to do that. You can also use BuzzSumo to find who's linking to your competitors' sites or to industry-leading sites. This is a list of all of the backlinks to BuzzFeed over the last year. We order them for you by the number of social shares that the content that links to your site has gotten. Another way that you can use the most shared section of the site is to find a combination of the most shared content from a domain on a topic, in this case, quizzes from BuzzFeed. Now, I like this search result. I show it a lot. And the reason I like it is I think it shows the value of these search results. If you scroll through this, you'll see that all of these search results have the same, the top three at least have the same headline formula: the hardest SpongeBob quiz, hardest 90s Premier League quiz, hardest name that country quiz. And if you continue to scroll through the results, you see that same formula popping up again and again. The oldest one of those posts that I've seen in the top 40 was from October of 2014. But the newest one here is from December of, or one of the newer ones is from December of last year. So what that tells me is that BuzzFeed has identified this successful formula, and they've been able to use it over and over again to continue to generate high quality social shares. All right, so outside of the different filtering options that you have here, you can also change the search results. So let's go back to the search for e-learning. You can change the way we sort the search results to see what's performing best on individual social networks. So if you're most interested in a Twitter audience for a piece of content, or a Pinterest audience, or a Facebook audience, you can sort to see the content on your topic that perform best on individual networks. And if you're working in a new topic area or for a new client and you're not sure which network gets the most social shares, our content analysis reports can help you to determine that. So sometimes people will say, okay, what do I do with these search results? And we think that these search results can help you create effective content that's going to generate more social shares. And the way you would do that is by using these to generate ideas about the types of content that you want to create. You're essentially using data to determine the types of content that is resonating with your audience, and then base your editorial decisions on that information. So I suggest that as you look at lists like this, you would notice anything that's out of date that could be brought up to date. You might want to pay attention to anything that is maybe a good piece but could be a little bit more in depth. You might look for articles that are strong articles but lack a visual element, or you might look for something that would be a great opportunity for you to maybe take a novel or a controversial point of view. Now, the final way that you can use the most shared section of the site is to look for the most shared content from a series of domains. So what I'm going to do here is search for the most shared content from some of the leaders in content marketing. I'll just enter a couple of domains here. BuzzSumo is going to show me the most shared content from those domains. So if this is something that you know you're going to be checking on periodically, maybe you know you're always going to log in and want to know what's going on with a couple of sites, you could create a saved search for those sites, and BuzzSumo will show you content that's performing best from those. Now, one thing that we emphasize a lot is the idea of content amplification. And part of that process that we encourage people to think about is how they will, they'll amplify their content, and begin thinking that through even as you're in the brainstorming segment of your content creation process. BuzzSumo offers a couple of tools to help make that a little bit more simple. The first is the option to see people who shared a specific piece of content. I actually shared this one, 9 apps that will take stress out of your morning routine. But if I knew that I was going to be creating a piece of content that had overlap with this, I could click on View Sharers, and BuzzSumo would pull together a list of people who shared this content in their Twitter feed. And then I can scroll down through there and look for the most influential accounts, possibly then add them to an outreach list for my new piece of content. The second thing you can do is you can see if there are backlinks to any content. I'm going to go ahead and just go with this one. If there are backlinks to an individual URL and you're creating something similar, this could be a really helpful list to use to find places where you could reach out for backlinks. In this case, there aren't any backlinks yet. All right, let's go on to content analysis reports. Content analysis reports are drawn from the same database as the most shared section of our site. So what that means is any kind of insight that you gain in the content analysis section can be kind of verified, and you can find out more details about the content in the most shared section of the site. These two also share a methodology in that when we are looking for a search term that you enter, like quiz or e-learning or data, we're looking for that search term in either the title or the topic of the content. So in these two parts of BuzzSumo, we're not searching for your keywords in the text of articles. We change that up a little bit when you get to the monitoring section, but I'll tell you about that in just a moment. So this is an example of a content analysis report for the word celiac. Now, you can also do content analysis reports for domains or from a combination of domains and topics. By default, we're looking at a year's worth of content. And in this case, we've analyzed almost 6,000 articles, and those articles got an average of 221 shares. That's a helpful benchmark to have if you're creating content in this area. We also show you average shares by network. So what you see here is that this search term performs best on Facebook. So if I'm going to be writing content about celiac disease, I certainly want to have a Facebook component to that strategy. Another way that you can use this chart is to compare different versions of the keywords that you're working with. Here's an example of a chart for the word gluten-free related to celiac. So what I noticed when I did these two searches is that gluten-free not only performs well on Facebook, it also performs well on Pinterest. So what this tells me is if I want to target a Pinterest audience, I'm going to use the term gluten-free and not the term celiac, because celiac performs well on Facebook, but not on Pinterest. So that's an easy fix that might help me get some more shares for my content overall if I just change up the term from celiac to gluten-free when I post on Pinterest. Now, the other thing that these reports show you are the preferred content formats for your topic. So all content is represented here, and then there are 6 types of content that we examine separately. List posts, we identify because they have a numeral as the first word in the headline. Videos and infographics, we identify because they have the word video or infographic in the title or the URL. What posts, how articles, and why posts, we're identifying because they have the words what, how, or why as the first word in the headline. So looking at this chart, you can see that list posts perform far better than all other types of content on Facebook. It looks like what posts perform better on Pinterest, and videos perform better on Google+. It looks like for Twitter, list posts perform better as well. We also show you total shares by day of the week that the content was published. So this is showing us that for celiac, most shared content is on Tuesday. So you might want to post your content on Tuesday, and that could give you a bump in the number of times it's shared socially. These charts also show you the preferred length of content. What we have here is average shares by content length. So for the term celiac, the most popular length of content on Facebook at least is 1,000 to 2,000 words. But on Pinterest, the preference is for content that is much longer at 3,000 to 10,000 words. Although as you look at this, the number of shares on Facebook is so much greater that you may not want to bother with adding another 2,000 or 3,000 words to your content. Now, I love this section of content analysis reports. What this does is shows you the most popular domains for social shares about your topic. What this is showing us is when people share content about the word celiac, these are the domains that they are most often grabbing that content from. Huffington Post, Gluten-Free Living, Gluten-Free Therapeutics. So these are places where you could look for examples of successful content. You could also pursue partnerships with these domains and possibly advertising opportunities as well. Now, the second type of report that we have available is a domain comparison report. And so what I wanted to show you with domain comparison reports is this. You can analyze two domains, like I could just as easily have analyzed Wall Street Journal and New York Times, but I decided to go ahead and show you how you can also look for how a domain covers a certain topic. So this is a search for posts about Donald Trump at the Wall Street Journal and posts about Donald Trump at the New York Times. So first you can compare the number of articles analyzed, almost twice as many articles published at the New York Times about Donald Trump. You can compare total shares and then average shares. So content about Donald Trump from the New York Times also gets a much higher number of average shares. Now you can also see where those shares took place. So for the Wall Street Journal, Facebook is the leading place, as it is for the New York Times content about Donald Trump. They're not getting much traffic at all on Twitter, Google Plus, or Pinterest, and just a slight amount of traffic on LinkedIn for both of those. We also show you average shares by content type. So both of these have their content. Let's see, why posts are performing best on New York Times and videos are performing better than all other content. For the Wall Street Journal, their what posts are performing better than all other content. And then you can also compare average shares by content length. So this is a great way to get some insights about what's working for an individual site. You can use it to compare your site to your competitors or competitors' sites to each other. A third type of report that is available here is what we call our top authors reports. Top authors reports are designed to show you people who are publishing content about a topic, and specifically the people whose content is getting shared most heavily. So for the term celiac, this is a top author report. It shows you whose content has gotten the most total shares. You can also sort this to see the people whose content has gotten the most average shares, and you can use this to see the people who have published the most content on your topic as well. When we can, we will give you the Twitter contact information for individuals. All right, let's take a look at the Facebook Analyzer now. The Facebook Analyzer is a little bit different than the rest of BuzzSumo. The reason the Facebook Analyzer is different is because in the Facebook Analyzer, we're looking at post-level content. So in the rest of the site, we're looking at content that begins as a blog post or an article. I kind of refer to it in my head as URL level content. In the Facebook Analyzer, though, we changed that up and we're looking for posts, basically. There's not necessarily an article that's included in this search, although some of them are shares of links. You can use this to analyze the performance of posts about a topic. You can grab a headline and pull it in here to see if there were posts about that specific article. Now, what we do is we organize the results by total interactions, which you see indicated here with the magic wand. But we also break this up for you into comments, shares, and likes, so you can see the number of those individual types of interactions this content has gotten. If you'd prefer, you can look at these as a list view, and we give you the option to go back and forth between the metrics that are included here: shares, comments, and likes. So if you would just like to get a feel for the most liked content, the most commented on, or the most shared content, you can do that. Now, we also provide some analysis of these posts. What this is showing us is the most popular type of post, as well as the most popular length, day, and time for posting. So this is actually tapering off for soccer. The most popular type of post is a coupon and a little longer length of 300 or more characters. We break down those engagement types by post type, by character range, whether or not a third-party tool is used to post, and also the day and the time. If you click on the time chart, we'll also just convert that time factor to your local time. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning is if you have some questions for me, just feel free to type them into the question box and I will circle back to those at the end of the presentation and make sure I get you some answers. Now, once you've determined that the most popular type of post for a certain topic is a coupon or an image or a link, you can then filter for that status type and we will show you the most successful coupons on your topic. So you can also search for results by page if you are interested, for example, in knowing what types of posts are working best for the New York Times. We can show you that. Need to check these so we're not just looking for their most successful coupon offers. And then you can also do an analysis of those most successful posts as well. So this is showing us that the New York Times most successful post type is an image. They're ranked number 158 within our Sumo rank. Basically, we look at the number of pages in their Facebook category that have a higher number of interactions. You can also see the most popular day and time for Facebook posts at the New York Times. All right, let's take a look at amplification. Now, in the amplification section of the site, we identify people on Twitter who are influencers. Earlier, I showed you how to use the View Shares button to find a list of people who had shared a specific URL. In that case, it was a very narrow kind of scope of what united that list of people. They were all people who had shared a URL. Now, if you go to amplification and Twitter influencers, you can enter a topic like SEO, and we're going to do a little bit of a more holistic search for people who are interested in your topic. Basically, we'll look at Twitter bios, the list that people have been added to, and compare that with keywords, identify people who are relevant for certain topics. We'll bring that list back for you sorted initially by relevance, and that just means we think that there's a good degree of overlap between these people and your topic. But we give you lots of different metrics that you can work with here to hopefully craft outreach lists that work best for your topic. You can also get a feel for the types of content that people like to share. If you click on View Link Shared, we'll pull together a list for you of all the links that have been shared by this Twitter account. And if you click on Analyze Links, we'll show you a chart that will indicate where people are pulling their content from. So for @SEO, he's drawing and sharing links from all across the web. That's actually a good chart in terms of influencer outreach because it's showing you that he has an interest in content that's coming from more than one website. Now, you can follow or unfollow people from BuzzSumo. You can add people to Twitter lists, which are housed at Twitter. You can tweet directly to them, or you can add them to outreach lists that are housed within BuzzSumo. You can add them individually, or you can select a group of people that match up to your metrics. Once you've added them to a list, there are a couple of really great features available here. The first one is the option to see conversations that your influencers are having. I've found that this has really helped to streamline my communication with influencers because I'm not approaching it in kind of an ad hoc way. When I'm working on my content marketing, I can sit down, look at the list of people that I've created and see their questions, their most popular tweets, and their latest tweets. You can also search to see if they're talking about a topic. You could enter hashtags here to see if they're talking about it as well. We also give you the option to see the most recently published content by your influencers. This is important because a lot of times people will ask us, how do you get started with an influencer strategy? And we like to recommend that they focus on what they have to offer influencers. So in this case, one thing that you can offer is to be a promoter of their content. So knowing what they're creating is really useful. We also have an audience builder, which you can use to find people who are tweeting content from a domain or on a keyword. You can use it to find people who are tweeting content from your site, or you could use it to find people who are tweeting content from a competitor's site. We'll pull together a list of people who've tweeted your content. We'll also give you a link to see what they tweeted, and you have the option to export this list as a tailored Twitter audience. So if you'd like to direct some advertising toward people who are tweeting your content, you can do that. If you want to direct some advertising toward people who are tweeting your competitors' content, you can do that too. Last section is monitoring, and I'll just start by saying that in the monitoring section, we change up the methodology that we're using. We have 3 different types of search term-based alerts that you could set. The search term-based alerts that you could set are brand mentions, competitor mentions, and keyword mentions. Now, in this section, we look for those search terms beyond the title and topic of the content that we find. So if you're working in a really niche area, or maybe with a topic that doesn't grab headlines, you might be able to identify more content here using the keyword mentions section in monitoring. It's also great because if you want to keep track of how your own brand brand is performing, you want to know anytime you're being mentioned, regardless of whether or not that mention is in the title or the text of the articles. Once you've set up alerts for monitoring, you can access our monitoring dashboard, which will show you any trends in the number of times you're being mentioned. We show you where the mentions occurred. You'll notice most of these are in the text of the article. So these are not mentions that would necessarily have shown up in a most shared search. You can compare mentions of your brand to mentions of other brands. I'll just pull another one in, and you can see how you're performing relative to other brands in your industry. The other things that you can monitor are backlinks, and I'll show you what our backlink monitoring dashboard looks like. You can also use BuzzSumo to monitor new content from websites. We'll send you an email or let you know anytime something new is published. You can use it to monitor anytime content is published by an author, and you can use it to monitor anytime content is created at a website. So that's an overview.